Hi, welcome back to the Coding Data series. Now, before actually working with the front end of our website or web application, why not we just create first our database tables? Alright, so let's go ahead and create the tables. So first of all, we need to create a table named as EMS underscore companies. Alright, so if I spell it right, COMPNIS. Alright, so what I need to do is basically I have to define manually the columns for the database. The user ID, the user that have created the companies, and I think so the title, and maybe the URL underscore title, and the dates. So the two dates we need to create. The first one is the created at, and the second one is the updated at. All right, so I don't think so we need to create the URL title, so just leave this as it is and just type in the auto increment, and user ID should be indexed, and created at and updated at both should be the timestamps. All right, so I will assign them the current timestamp and the current timestamp, and this one the updated at is on update current timestamp, and everything is good to go, and just save it. All right, so the next thing is we need to create a table for the users. All right, so EMS underscore users. So let's just copy this EMS underscore. All right, so for the users we will have the name, email address, and password, and okay, name, email, password, and the created ad and updated ad. All right, so just auto increment this thing. Name should be varchar, email varchar, password, yes, varchar, and these both should be the timestamps. And we need to give the specific length to each of the varchar um, input field. All right, so the next thing, all right, so what's the next thing we need to create? The employees. All right, so let's go ahead and first quickly create the employees table. EMS underscore employees. All right, so for the employees, I think so it should be pretty simple. ID, name, and email, and maybe like uh, all right, so maybe I think so we should just stick with this: the first name, last name, email address. If they have, we will not make it require. And let's go ahead and create some other fields like the contact number and the address, I think so, and then obviously created at and updated at. All right, so one more field we need is basically the user underscore ID. All right, so first let me make this as the auto increment. First name, again varchar, we have email, uh, email right here, contact number, address. I think address we should make it text, and these will be the timestamps. Sorry, the timestamps, and this one also timestamps, and this will be the integer by default. All right, so let me just make this thing index and go ahead. All right, so I will just simply, all right, so we need to give the length to each of these fields, which is obviously the 255 characters, and of course we need only 20 characters for contact number. And first name, not last name should be mandatory. Email can be null. Contact number and address, these three fields can be null. All right, so just save it. It says timestamp. All right, so we forgot about on update. All right, so invalid default date. Alright, so why is this picking up this? Alright, so we need to set up the current timestamp, save it. And one more thing I need to do is basically just move the columns. So this user ID should go up. Alright, so what's next? Alright, so we have created companies, we have created employees and users as well. So how do we need to create the relationship with each of them is basically uh, every employee can be linked with one company or many companies. So it's like many to many relationship. So many companies can have many employees and many employees can be linked with many companies or maybe single company. So let's go ahead and first create a pivot table which will be EMS underscore employee underscore company. And in that, I will just type in the ID, the user ID. This user ID will basically, you do not need to create it, but I create this just because to track down which user performed the action of deleting or editing or updating the user. So that's the purpose of creating the user ID. And I will create the employee underscore ID and company underscore ID. And I think so one more field which will be created underscore at. All right, so auto increment, give this thing an index, and all these things will obviously go to the index column. I prefer creating the index because this helps in searching uh, very quickly. All right, so everything is good to go. We need to give this the timestamp and the current timestamp. All right, so let's save it. And I will quickly go through the other tables in our database, and I will pause the video and will come back and will show you what the tables I have created. All right, so our database has been set up completely. So let me show you what the structure is. So here we have the employees, and employees can be linked to many companies, and each company has shifts. So we have created a shifts here as well, the dynamic thing. So the shift will have the title, the start time and the end time, and then the shift will link to the company. So user ID, company ID and shift ID. Then the employee underscore company, so employee will link to companies as well. So each employee will have a company ID and which shift he is working on, so that is also linked. And the next thing we have is basically the leaves, so the category of leaves that were required, uh, define category of leaves right here. So I have defined the, so the only the leaves will only have the title, description and nothing else than title and description. And the next thing is basically assign leaves to the users or employees. So for that, the table structure is basically employee ID, company ID, shift ID. Might be a user is working on two shifts with one company, and he want to have a leave only with a specific shift, not with multiple shifts or not with at all shifts. So for that reason, we have defined the shift ID and then the start date and then the end date and obviously the description. So the description is basically the reason why he wants a leave, and then either the leave is approved or not approved. All right, so that was the basically our database structure. And in this video we have just covered how we can create our database schema. So you can see that everything is linked with each other. So employees, companies, they are linked with each other. And there is no, actually if you want to get any specific data against anything, we can just grab it very easily with one single query. So that's how we designed our database structure, and that's about it in this video. And in the next video we will start developing and creating our front end.